Hello and welcome to today's video. My name is Haley, and today we are talking about the 18th gene key, the gift of integrity. I have to say, as I was saying that intro, I realized how robotic it is. Hello and welcome. My name is Haley. Today we're da-da-da-da. But anyways, that was just interesting. I was observing myself in autopilot for a second there. But it's true. It is a hello and welcome. My name is still Haley, and it is the gift of integrity. So anyways, I don't know. That just kind of made me feel funny. Anyway, I don't know. Sorry, this is off topic, but have you ever had that where you're watching yourself as you're automatically doing something that your body has subconsciously memorized? It's kind of weird, no? But also kind of cool, and the body's crazy, phenomenal. Anyways, on to the gene keys. This is a gift all about integrity, honesty, true authentic nature and character, which I so eloquently accidentally just displayed to you. These are the thoughts that often infiltrate my brain. Ones of self-observation, kind of if you know me in real life, you know that I often do this, or this means I'm thinking or contemplating the nature of reality to some degree. So first contemplation, even though we haven't even really dived into this chapter yet, what is something that makes you you? What is an integral part of your character that if someone described it, for instance, me doing this, you'd be like, that's a Haley thing. So what is a you thing that you naturally just do, that you easily exude? Maybe it's you could call it a quirk, or I guess quirk is the best way to think about that, because our quirks are often integral in nature. So starting to get those wheels churning as we dive into what Richard Rudd has to say about integrity. This is the elevation from the shadow frequency of opinion. Oh my gosh, you guys, I totally just realized we're not on the 18th gene key. We're on the 17th gene key. My mistake. I got a little excited. The 17th and the 18th gene keys are some of my favorite, and they're oddly similar. So sorry. Well, here is a perfect example of integrity. I messed up, and that's just that. Integrity can be beautiful. It can also be oops, I messed up. Or it can be quirky, or it can be weird, or it can be silly, or it can be funny, whatever. Anyways, hello and welcome to this video. This is the 17th gene key, not the 18th. We will get to that in the future. So going from the shadow state of opinion to the gift of far-sightedness. So this video is actually not about integrity going forward. It's about far-sightedness, which is elevating from the gift frequency of opinion and working your way up into a person who sees into the future, has a good intuitive sense, has a sixth sense is another word for this. And remember, this 17th gene key is called the eye, so another way to look at the gift of far-sightedness could be the opening of the third eye, the ability to see future projection. The mass of humanity is easily influenced by one side or the other. Yeah, we went over this within the last two videos, how a dogma is presented on a billboard, and usually more likely than not, the mass consciousness assumes that what they're being presented is the truth, is how they're supposed to be or navigate the world. And it doesn't really take much to program someone. It is out of the mind's duality that all human drama is born. Another way to say that is it's out of this illusion of separation, right? There's me, and then there's you. There's this opinion and there's that opinion. There's a hierarchy of choices to choose from. It's out of all of this dichotomization. I don't know if that's even a word. I'm gonna make it a word. It's out of all of this dichotomization that all human drama is born. that all chaos sprouts from. Meaning that if for whatever reason we were to knock our head and remember our oneness, drama would cease, chaos would collapse, and we would enter into the new earth or heaven, Eden. There's so many different ways to say this. But there's one issue with this. There's a reason we keep, as a collective, manifesting drama and chaos, war and famine and argumentation and debate and political, all of this stuff, and not to mention the own internal individual drama that plays out in each of our minds. There's a reason this keeps happening. It's because maybe not even so deep down, not even so secretly, we are addicted to drama. And if you who's watching this is like, no, I'm not addicted to drama. I hate drama. It's so annoying. Well, sit with this for a second, because that was my first reaction. I was like, look, Richard Rudd, you actually don't know me. I don't like drama. But that's not true fundamentally, because actions reveal belief systems, right? If I, you or me, didn't actually like drama, we would not partake in any form of chaos. That also means co-creating distortions of reality. And by that I mean, for example, let's say my neighbor, Jimmy, told me that he would help me do my laundry because my laundry machine broke. And then he does the laundry really half-assed and he returns it and it's kind of smelling weird. And I'm like, Jimmy, why did you do that? That was so irresponsible. You suck. That was no help. If anything, now I have laundry that stinks even worse than when I gave it to you. And not to mention you shrunk some of it. And now I have to go buy a new dress and da-da-da-da. I'm actually co-creating this drama with Jimmy in blaming him, in saying it's your fault. Even though obviously from a 3D perspective, most of the mass human consciousness would agree that it is Jimmy's fault, that the laundry smells worse and some of it's messed up. So to truly take responsibility for each and every single thing that happens within your reality is not easy, because sometimes on a 3D level, it's very easy to point the finger, to project, to dump your negative emotion onto another and quote unquote justify what is happening to you. So to really prove that I'm not addicted to drama, all of my actions here on out would have to also verify that through accountability, through responsibility, even if Jimmy messes up my laundry. The individual who is truly on a path to ignite into this gift of far-sightedness says, why did this happen to me? How did I attract this experience? What am I meant to learn? So that's a lot of work, obviously, for each and every little bit of drama that enters your sphere, to have that type of awareness and true desire to want to elevate into that gift. So the person that starts to develop this opening of the third eye, this ability to see in the future, has a deep, genuine desire to want to take accountability, to want to understand, to want to learn, and to want to level up. There's zero victim mindset here, meaning there's zero foundation to fuel the human drama. I know we're only like 10 minutes in, but I do have a second contemplation for you already, which is, what drama do you currently interact with? And maybe it's not something as obvious as your boyfriend cheated on you and it's this huge dramatic thing, and or you and your dad have issues and you hate him, and like maybe it's not so obviously dramatic. Maybe it's more subliminal, like the example I gave you with Jimmy and the laundry. Essentially, drama is presenting itself anywhere in your life where there is any negative emotion, any anger, any annoyance, any sadness. So very simply put, where do the lower frequency emotions arise in your individual point of consciousness, aka drama? And how do you co-create that drama by not taking responsibility currently? And then if you want to take this a step further, you can start asking those big questions I threw at you earlier, which is, now how did I manifest this? What am I supposed to learn? It's a pretty long contemplation for even just one drama point in the lifetime. Oh, okay. I like this one because Richard Rudd really calls all of us out. I know when I read this, I was like, oof, it hurts because it's true. He says, if you think you have escaped this game, so if you're still sitting here watching this saying like, no, I don't like drama, I'm not buying it. Okay, just listen to this. Really listen. For a second, put your ego down and like open your ears. Richard Rudd is about to drop a bomb. He says, if you think you have escaped this game, then look deeply at your opinions, and perhaps you will discover how easily conditioned your own mind really is. I'm just going to leave that as it is. No comment. All opinions are based on seeing flaws in the geometry of life. AKA, all preferences or attachments are born out of not being able to accept reality as it is presenting itself right now. Literally exactly as it is right now. Even if a loved one just died, even if you're terribly, terminally ill, even if you just feel like shit and you're kind of bloated. Any resistance to life as it is right now is based upon this seeing of flaws, right? It's only in the acceptance of the way things completely are right now, which is so much easier said than done, as we all know. You probably wouldn't be watching this, and I probably wouldn't be making this if you and I currently accepted reality as it was, fully and completely. So yes, this is where all opinions, again, opinions meaning negative opinions that don't serve you or another, flourish from. Okay, enough recap of the shadow, which all of this, by the way, is within the gift chapter. Oh, a little bug friend is visiting me. Okay, you just stay over there, buddy. I have this new thing where I'm trying not to harm bugs. I don't know what's come over me. Even like really scary ones, I'm like, let's just keep the peace. You have your zone, I have mine. Anyways, I don't think he's gonna affect me. I think we're good. As I was saying. Yes, okay, so as you know, if you've watched any of these videos or if you've read the Gene Keys yourself, Richard Rudd loves to kind of intertwine talking about the gift frequency within the shadow chapter and then vice versa, talking about the shadow and giving us a little recap within this gift frequency. So he finally starts to tell us, how do we elevate into far-sightedness? He says, to move beyond the shadow of opinion, you have to stop taking life seriously and personally. Simple enough. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. Okay, so literally two things. Stop taking life seriously. It's so serious. It's like what I think of. I have to have this job, and I have to have that bag, and I have to look this good. It's all so serious. So you have to stop with this nonsense of life is so serious. And then you also have to stop taking things personally, which I would say is maybe the more difficult of the two, although they're both pretty daunting. And this reminds me of the book, The Four Agreements, which is a very cute little pocket book, which if you haven't read, I think it's a really nice, easy intro level read. And one of these 4 rules for life, essentially, that the author offers is to never take anything personally. So I've been marinating with that one ever since I read that book probably 5 years ago. And it is great advice. Like, the person that truly cannot take things personally is the person that's free. And I mean, that even means, like, for instance, if you're in a relationship and your boyfriend breaks up with you, the person who truly doesn't take things personally understands that the guy broke up with me because he's got some things to work through or work with. Even if he said, you're annoying, you're terrible, you're ugly, like whatever. The person who truly doesn't take things personally understands that on a deep level, that person is dumping their negative energy and their trauma onto me, and it actually has nothing to do with me. I just happen to be conveniently placed in front of them as they offload their ego. So stop taking life seriously and personally. Okay, Richard Rudd, noted. So why is opinion forming in the first place? It's because the mind believes that in finding a fixed viewpoint, something to land on, that everything's under control, that I'm safe, that there's a platform that I'm standing on. When really, obviously, the nature of reality, I see you. This bug is back. The nature of reality, clearly, perfect example, this bug is completely uncertain. I don't know if this bug's gonna fly at me. I don't know if he's just gonna move on and go to my neighbor's house. I don't know. But the mind believes that an opinion will solidify certain limits and factors so that I am safe. The mind is just like grasping and quenching to become certain about life so that it feels a sense of security and, all back to the root fear of death. He starts to talk more about the gift, saying that this gift of far-sightedness is not an idle gift. It's not just something that's passively sitting there, like, constantly seeing visions of the future and doing nothing. This person, because they're not stuck in this shadow frequency of opinion, has a natural peripheral opening, right? They can see more. They have 3 eyes open instead of 2. So they see the whole picture, and this actually drives them into a very dynamic energy. It's motivating, right? To see the future, not even just to speculate a hope of, oh, I hope things go well, but to actually know. If this person sees the future, meaning it's a lot easier to put into motion. Put into motion actions that will serve that future. So a perfect example of this is, let's just paint a hypothetical situation. Let's just say, for example, I have this gift of far-sightedness, and there is a loved one in my current now reality that is very sick, maybe even announced terminally ill by doctors. And everyone around me is fretting and nervous and sad and, oh, I hope they live, but it's really more like kind of hope, like lack-oriented hope. And they're praying, but more like begging, asking to God. But because I have this gift, let's just say, I feel very certain that actually things are going to be fine. Why? Because I've gotten impressions, whether that's through the dreams or some prophetic experience, where I see that my loved one is absolutely fine in the future and a divine-oriented miracle is going to occur. So the person who has this gift is very calm, right? Because they see the whole enchilada. They understand that even though right now things don't necessarily look great, down the line it's actually going to be fine. And so this person has a very peaceful and sturdy energy. And again, they're not idle, right? They're not just sitting there like watching the chickens run around, quacking and making more mishap and chaos about how their loved one's gonna die. No, they're actually actively trying to calm down the current situation and remove this false begging, weird kind of hope energy that's emanating, and trying to instill a frequency of peace. They're trying to share their overflowing abundance of peace with those around them that are currently struggling with the way things are right now. So they're challenging all misrepresentations of the truth, is what Richard Rudd says. And I think by that he means they're challenging the people around them that are running around not aligned with the truth, right? Truth being love, peace, oneness, bliss. So they're challenging all the people around them that are running around in a state of fear, in a state of I have to figure it out, of mania, of like frenetic, like anxiety. And they're challenging them with love, with truth, right? Which is obviously a much more powerful energy. You can reference the David R. Hawkins map of consciousness if you're not familiar with the different frequencies of emotions. It's like one of my favorite things to reference ever. I have it memorized. It's my wallpaper on my phone. So yes, this person, in being peaceful and sturdy because they see the whole enchilada, is naturally challenging the fear-based consciousness around them. So even though maybe from a 3D standpoint it looks like they might just be sitting there, they're actually always dynamically working by churning their energy outward and washing over this fear and just like engulfing it. Love entrains all frequencies that are lower around it to rise up. So it's a very powerful thing we're talking about here, this gift. And keep in mind, the people around them are still operating from fear, perhaps, right? From opinion. Well, no, but she's gonna die because the doctor said X, Y, and Z, and like, look at the blood results and look at the percentage of people that live, like the lower frequency around them that is on this fear-based consciousness has all the logical opinion to support why things are going in a not truthful manner, into chaos, into drama. And this person that is sitting in this far-sightedness gift is challenging their logic, maybe not by not even saying anything, right? Challenging with your energy. So that's interesting to know too. The person in this gift frequency is not defending their truth because, as we learned in the last video, the truth needs no defense. So cheesy, but so true. So this person is not quacking back at the fear-based consciousness and arguing and debating. No. They're literally completely relaxed in the truth, which once again, from a 3D perspective, might look idle and passive, but is actually extremely dynamic. They're operating from a higher form of cognition from here, from impressions, from feminine energy, rather than from the unbalanced only left brain operation that most of mass consciousness is currently utilizing. So they see the futility, again, because they literally see the future. They see how absolutely ridiculous it is to agree with only what's being presented in this now moment. They understand that from a limited point of consciousness, you can only see a limited amount of factual evidence. So they're relaxing into the proof and the truth of the all. Okay, so all of this sounds really nice, right? I'm reading this, I'm like, yeah, like, of course I can understand how easy it would be to just completely relax into this now moment if I understood the future and the past for that matter. And so I guess the most important thing actually up until now that he says right here is that the person who has this ultimately has the capacity to trust in the authority of the heart. This person trusts in the authority of the heart. So what does that mean? The heart speaks in ways that are maybe not as obvious as, literal words coming out of the mouth or facts that can be read. The heart speaks through impression, right? Because we're acting out of a balanced brain, not a left brain logic trumping the right brain creativity. There's a balanced brain. So now the feminine energy, which moves in a much flowier way, can communicate through impression, through symbol, through dream. So it's not as obvious, as factual as like duh, 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 as the masculine. And this person has learned how to listen to the authority of the heart, has learned how to pay attention to the subtleties that present themselves via synchronicity or signs or numbers or dreams, or think of anything creative, flowy, feminine. So it's like learning a new language. And this makes sense then that the people that are operating from a fear-based consciousness of opinion don't understand. It's like speaking German to someone who's never spoken German. They just don't know the language. So this is something that can be learned. Far-sightedness, and really any gift frequency, is something you step into through desire to learn it, through flexing your desire to learn it. So I'll just add this. This is not in this book, but if you've ever had a profound dream or a profound synchronicity, which if you've never heard of the word synchronicity, it's when two events that are seemingly unrelated present themselves at the same time and makes you go, huh, it's kind of weird. For instance, very simple example, you're thinking of your high school best friend who you haven't seen since high school 10 years ago, and you walk into a coffee shop and she's there even though you live in a different country now. You're like, wait, what? I literally just thought of you and you're in Indonesia? That is so random. What? So that would be an example of synchronicity. So the way to start to flex your desire to learn this language of the heart and therefore step into trusting this language of the heart is to start practicing tangoing with it. Meaning when a crazy synchronicity comes, or when you wake up from a very profound dream, you give your energy and your attention to that dream, to that event. And in doing so, you show the universe, God, love, mana prana, whatever you want to call that thing inside of you and all around you, that you are interested in learning this language. Teachings are always presenting themselves, and it's up to you, the individual, to flex the desire if you're actually interested in stepping into the heart, into the gift frequency of far-sightedness. And the more you step into it, the more you trust the heart, the more you listen, the more you learn, the more intuitive or far-sighted you become. So these people start to get named like healers and prophets and, all these labels. Really all it is they've flexed their desire enough to want to know more, so more information is made available to them. That was always actually there, by the way. And this part is really interesting because in demystifying this gift frequency, he also now adds something that I forgot he mentioned, which is this person essentially is just extremely skilled at pattern recognition. They see how one pattern gives birth to another. So, for example, what am I going to use as an example here? Here we go. So let's just say, I'm going to use a real example actually, but leave out names and maybe change some details so for privacy reasons. But a real example being a friend is coming to me saying like, oh, I have this issue with this guy and he's treating me like this. It's not how I want, but I'm in love with him. Like, oh, it's so dramatic, right? And I'm like, babe, very simply put, he's not your dream man, so it's a no. It's always either hell yes or hell no. How do I know this? Because I've observed it enough in my own life, right? When I say something that's not really a full-bodied yes and see how it is only to my detriment in the end. And I kind of always knew that. But at the time I really wanted to be around someone, or I wanted attention, or I wanted something. My ego wanted something. So I didn't have this surrendered patience to say, you know what, this isn't a full-bodied yes, so I'm gonna say no. And I've seen this theme play throughout in my life of when I say yes to something that's, I know, not really for me, and then watch it hurt later on. It's just a pattern recognition. So because I can see this pattern recognition, I can be like, babe, take my word for it. Da 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 da. And you know, maybe then she comes back, oh my gosh, it's crazy. Like, you were right, I dropped him and now I'm at my dream guy. And like, and to her, it seems like I might have had a prophetic far-sightedness in this, but really at its core demystified truth, it's simply pattern recognition. It's, again, flexing the desire to want to pay attention and then doing just that. And most importantly, showing that you're paying attention through your action. So actually setting the boundary, actually saying no, which is the hard part, right? If it was easy, we would all be doing it. So there's a very simple real life example. So this person sees patterns, for example, rooted in numbers or letters or words. He says that there is a divine mathematics of evolution, which Richard Rudd is throwing a little poetry in there for us because that's just how he is, which I love. But at its core, it's just pattern recognition once again. And he ties a nice little bow tie on this, which is the last thought I'll leave you all with, which he says, they translate their deep knowing of the perfection of life, their acceptance of this now moment, in however they wish. And these are the people that will ultimately organize a new human civilization, one where none of us disagree with each other. There's no dissonance of opinion. That's a pretty big promise, but hey, imagine that. Sounds pretty nice. So yes, stay tuned for the 17th acidic state, not the 18th. It's getting a little excited there. 18th is really good too, you guys, though, but also the 17th is to be enjoyed because this is what's presenting itself in this now moment. So yes, stay tuned for the 17th city of omniscience, which is literally my favorite word on earth. See you guys next time. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning in with me for this Gene Keys episode. I also just wanted to come on here and start promoting my one-to-one coaching that I offer to women and girls ages 16 to 35. If you followed me on Instagram for a while, you might be a little bit familiar with my story. I was a model in New York City for 5 years, and in that time frame, I did quite some damage. I developed a really severe eating disorder, body dysmorphia, chronic anxiety. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even go out to dinner without thinking about how much calories, how much I'd have to overwork out in order to compensate for what I was eating. All of those issues led to quite a depression and turned into PCOS, and I also lost my menstrual cycle for over 5 years. All of this amalgamation of issues led me to soon realize that something needed to change. I went through much work. Many people helped me to get to where I am now, and I'm so thrilled to say I'm living such a more abundant life, and I don't feel zapped and drained and fear of judgment anymore like I used to. I would love to offer what I've learned through my own embodied experience, the meditative techniques that have gravitated toward me, and the own verified games that I've made up and curated to help you walk home to more of you and who you really are, so that all of these things can stop draining your energy. You know, all the constant comparison to others and to your people on Instagram, all the over-analysis about working out and what you're eating or what you look like. All of these things are not what life's about, as cheesy as it sounds. And I would love to help you come into more unity with you if you struggle with any of these things and you're a woman or girl between the ages of 16 and 35. So feel free to reach out to me if one-on-one coaching sounds resonant. You can feel free to DM me through Instagram or contact me via email, both of which will be left below in the description box. So much love and aloha to you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video.